Hi guys! Today we're starting a new unit. It's factoring, which you did learn in 7th grade briefly, but I'm going to review it again today. Factoring is actually the opposite of the distributive property. So we have the distributive property here. We know we take 2, we take 2 and we distribute. 2 times 3x is 6x, and 2 times 1 is 2. Hence, we get 6x plus 2. Now, going backwards is called factoring. So, here we are. We have 6x plus 2. I look at these and I say, okay, 6x and 2. What factors do they have in common? Factors are numbers that multiply to get a number. So for 6, to get 6, I can multiply 6 and 1. I can multiply 3 and 2. Sorry about that. So I notice, okay, 6 and 2. For 2, the only factors to get 2 is 2 and 1. So I could take out a 2. This 2 right here, it's going backwards. So what I'm really doing is I'm taking the greatest common factor between these two terms here, and I'm saying, okay, this is dividing by 2. When I divide 6x by 2, I get 3x, and when I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. This is factoring. Okay. So, factoring by the greatest common factor. We first look and we notice, do these terms have any common factors? So, I see 8x and I see negative 4. So, to get 8x, I can multiply 4 times 2. I can multiply 8 times 1 and 4. Right, so I can list the factors if I want. So 8x, the factors are 1, 2, 4, 8, and also x, right? X is a factor. For 4, I only have 1, 2, and 4. So the greatest common factor between the two is 4. So that is what I'm going to divide out and pull outside of my parentheses. So I have 4 times something. So I'm pulling out the 4, which really means I'm dividing everything by 4. 8x divided by 4 is 2x. 4 divided by 4 is minus 1. To check, all I do is I distribute this back out. If I get the original answer that I started with, then I'm right. 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And I got the same thing that I started with. Let's try 2 more. Okay, the greatest common factor. So I look at all the terms, and I notice, first I look at the coefficients, or just the numbers. So I see 4, 8, and 8. Out of those, the only thing in common is a 4, right? 4 here is the biggest number. Here's his 1, 2, and 4. Here there's 8. So I could pull out a 4. This has 3 C's. This has 2 C's. This doesn't have any C's, so I can't pull out any variables. Just a 4 is the only thing that they have in common. So now I divide everything by 4, and that's what I'm going to have in the inside of my parentheses. So here, all I'm left with is C cubed because the 4's cancel. Here, 8 divided by 4 is 2. I have the minus 2C squared, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. To check, I would distribute to make sure I got the same thing. Okay, for this next one, I have 14x cubed plus 7x squared. So, right, I have 14x cubed plus 7x squared. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first look at the numbers 14 and 7x. I notice that they have a 7 in common. So that's one thing that I could pull out. However, I noticed that the x cubed and the x squared, they both have x's in their terms. Well, how many do they have in common? Here, 14x cubed has 3 x's. Here, 7x squared only has 2. So how many do they have in common? They only have 2 in common, so I could pull 2 out. So I'm going to pull a 7x squared out, and I'm going to divide. So 14x cubed divided by 7x squared. Well, 14 divided by 7 is 2. X cubed divided by x squared, I subtract the exponents and I get x. And here, 7x squared divided by 7x squared is just 1. So here is my answer. Again, I could distribute to check that I got it right. 14x squared times 2x is, no, 7x squared, my bad. 7x squared times 2x is 14x cubed. 7x squared times 1 is 7x squared. So I factored correctly. Okay, let's try 2 more. So I have 25x cubed minus 15x squared. I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, what do they have in common? Well, let's look at the numbers first, 25 and 15. The greatest common factor between 25 and 15 is 5. So I pull out a 5. However, we have x cubed and x squared. I really can pull out the lowest exponent. That's kind of like the rule. If every single term has a variable, the one with the lowest exponent is the greatest common factor. So I have 5x squared. When I divide that out, 25 divided by 5 is 5. So when I multiply, I'll get 5 times 5 is 25. And then I need an x because there's 2 here, but there's 3 here, so I need 1 more. And then here, minus 15x squared. Well, the x squareds cancel out. Right there, I already pulled it out, so there's no more. But how do I get from 5 to negative 15? That's minus 3. I'm really just dividing. All right, let's look at this trinomial now. I have 8d cubed plus 4d squared plus 12d. I'm going to look at my coefficients first. 8, 4, and 12. I could list the factors if I want. 1, 2, 4, and 8. For 4, I have 1, 2, and 4. And for 12, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. But I know that 4 is the greatest common factor, so I'm going to pull out a 4. Now notice there's a d here, and a d here. There's only 1 in this last term. There's 2 here, and there's 3 here. So in common, they only have 1. So I'm going to take out the 4d, and I'm going to factor it out. So really, I'm just dividing each term by the greatest common factor, 4d. So 8d cubed divided by 4d, that's 2d squared. 4d squared divided by 4d, well, that's plus d. 4 divided by 4 is just 1. D squared divided by d is just 1d. And then 12d divided by 4d is plus 3. Okay. Next, one more example. So here I have multiple variables. Well, still I have to see what they have in common. The 12 and 3 first, the greatest common factor is 3. I see x squared and y, I see x and y. So I could pull out an x and a y because they all have an x and a y. Now I do the opposite of distributing, which is dividing. So 12 divided by 3 would give me 4. X squared divided by x, that's just an x, and then there's already a y, so that's done. Plus 3xy divided by 3xy is just 1. Here's your answer. All right, I want you to pause your screen, and I want you to try and factor these 3 polynomials using the greatest common factor. Pause your screen now and answer them. When you unpause, I will have the answers and explaining how to answer them. So pause your screens now. Answer these on loose leaf and then check. All right, so I see 7x plus 28 is the first one. I notice that the greatest common factor is a 7. So I'm going to pull out a 7. And when I divide out a 7, I get x plus 4. For the next one, I look at my numbers first. 3, 9, and 12. The greatest common factor is 3. This has an x squared, this has an x, but this 12 has no variables, so I can't factor out any variables. So I just pull out the 3, and I divide it out. So divided by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. So 3x squared divided by 3 is just x squared. 9x divided by 3 is 3x. And 12 divided by 3, I get minus 4. All right, and the last one, 15, 20, and 10. The greatest common factor here is 5. Now, I have to look at the variables. I notice this middle term here, 20x squared, has no y, so I can't factor out a y. However, all three of them have at least one x, so I could pull out an x. That's also a common factor. I divide it out. I get 15xy divided by 5x is going to be 3y plus 4x plus 2x. Sorry, it got cut off. If you guys have any questions at all, let me know. Comment on here. Okay.